Recently my morning geckos laid eggs, and shortly after, these small little geckos appeared all over the vivarium. But it turns out, morning geckos are cannibals, and even though the baby geckos had found multiple refuge spots to hide, some of the babies still lost their tails and were in danger. So I decided to make a smaller home for them while they grow up, and for future generations. I wanted to do something different for this terrarium, so I decided to go for a tall glass cylinder shape. Since morning geckos live up in the tree canopy, spending most of their time among the branches, I'm making them a realistic tree branch vivarium. And with the babies being so small, this branch will feel like a giant tree to them, which they'll be able to climb and explore while they grow up. You will truly love the baby geckos' reactions to their new tree vivarium. I began with the bottom. Since this is a tropical environment, there's gonna be a lot of water, which means the floor could get very wet and that could create multiple problems. So I will start with making the drainage layer. I will link all the materials I'm using in the description if you're interested. If this is your first time learning about the tropical terrarium, a drainage layer is a very important part of the process to prevent plant rotting and mold issues among other problems. There are multiple ways of making a drainage layer. I'm using leca, and just with putting a few inches it's enough. Then a simple net to separate it from the soil, and done. After that, I mixed up some of the soils I had left from my other terrariums and poured it in. About 3 inches will work well, and will be enough for the plants. Different types of soil could work well. Be sure to pick what's right for you. In some cases, you don't even need soil. Just some sphagnum moss could do. Next up is the tree branch. I picked up this cork bark that will be the perfect centerpiece. I want to make it feel like a giant tree for the geckos, so I've played around with a few shapes and found one that I was happy with. From there, I started the building process. If you're enjoying the video so far, I'd really appreciate it if you hit the like button and subscribe for future videos. But there's still a lot missing to make it look realistic. If you look at rainforest branches in the wild, they're completely full of moss and plants. So I'll be doing the same here. I'll be covering most of the bark with moss that will eventually overgrow and cover it completely. For this, I'm using aquarium safe superglue to make sure the animals and plants are safe. The moss I'm using is called Java moss. If you have a cool terrarium idea you would like to see, let me know in the comments. After finishing with the moss, you can already see a pretty big difference. Instantly we have more color and more life. Like in the rainforest, one little section like this can be full of different species of plants. So I chose multiple different tropic plants for this vivarium. Most of these plants, like these ferns, are epiphyte, which means they don't need a soil to grow, and they can live up on tree branches. This is the Begonia Amphioxus. Its exotic colors will bring a splash of different tones to the vivarium, and also provide hiding spots for the baby geckos. Other plants I'm adding include this other fern for the background, and this beautiful philodendron, among others. I'll leave the full plant list in the description if you're interested. To make sure all of these plants grow and stay safe, I'm using the Skylight LED Tiny RV, especially made for terrariums in mind. And with the plants done, I'll let it dry out and I can already start adding the baby geckos. There's only one thing missing before: the microfauna. First, the springtails, which are these tiny animals that are gonna keep everything healthy and clean in the terrarium. preventing the buildup of harmful bacteria and molds. I'll also add some isopods, which play a very similar role to the springtails, helping maintain the vivarium. A lot of people don't know this about these tiny insects, but these guys first appear in the fossil record during the Carboniferous period some 300 million years ago, which is crazy, surviving multiple mass extinctions. It's always fun seeing them interact with each other and find their way in the vivarium. They're very peaceful animals, and I'm sure you've seen them since they live in almost every habitat on the planet. Now I just needed to get the baby geckos from the vivarium. Catching them is definitely not an easy task, but slowly and carefully I got them all, and finally introduced them to their new safe tree. I will be making it rain often by misting by hand to maintain the necessary humidity for our geckos and plants. The water droplets collect on various surfaces, and it's where the geckos will be drinking from. As the water evaporates to the top, being an enclosed vivarium, the water recycles itself. This allows for the creation of a self-sustaining water cycle, transforming the vivarium to a pretty self-sustaining ecosystem. It's been about a month since I finished the terrarium. Everything has been getting settled in, and the baby geckos have been doing very well and growing. And the slow, deliberate growth of the plants is a positive sign that the environment is the right one for them. Speaking of positive signs, after some time, the baby gecko's tail has also grown back and recovered very well. Every Monday I give them gecko nutrition, which is important for their growth and very tasty. One of the joys of having a vivarium is witnessing the gradual transformation over time. The slow but steady growth of the plants, the intricate web of interactions between different elements, and the gecko's growth from babies. The moss has grown a lot since I first glued it in. It's like a giant jungle to the miniature geckos. But even difficult to climb, that doesn't stop them from hunting the flies. I want to say thank you to anyone that has watched so far, and be sure to subscribe for updates and upcoming new ecosystems.